Howdy everyone, I am the Mad Hatter and welcome back to yet another tutorial. Today we're talking about Bleach-Bypass. Well, what is Bleach-Bypass? This is. So, I don't want to be too technical today, but let's just say for the sake of the tutorial that Bleach-Bypass is basically a look that retains a lot of contrast and low saturation, giving you this silverish look that you're seeing. If you want to know more on the history of how it was developed and how it transitioned from film to digital, well, check the link in my bio. I have a full article there discussing all of this and much more. But without further ado, let's jump into DaVinci and see how it's done.
Mammamia! As you can see, I've already created the project, imported the clip and done my primaries. This particular clip is shot with a Red camera and you can download it directly from the Red website. Again, link in my bio to the full article where you have all the references to download this clip. The reason I want to do this tutorial is because there are plenty online showing you different methods to obtain the Bleach-Bypass. None of them though shows you the main methods together and compare them to one another. This time we will create a new version each time we do a different method, and at the end we will compare all of them together. Without further ado, let's start with the first method, which is possibly the truest to the origin of the Bleach-Bypass, which is overlaying a black and white to the colored image. So in order to do that, what we have to do is first of all to create a new node, Alt or Option S, and then create a layer node, so Alt Option L. Right now nothing has changed, of course. Label your node, so this one will be black and white, and this one will be our saturation. Alrighty, then make this one black and white. There are a couple of ways to do so. First of all, completely desaturate it. I don't personally like this choice. I like to go in my bars and select monochrome. This is because from now on with these bars I can basically play with the luminosity of each individual channel. Right now, of course, we're not going to see anything, for we have a layer node and the composite mode is on normal. Thus, what we have to do now is go into the layer mixer, right click, and on composite mode, select overlay. And you can see it's already starting to look like a Bleach-Bypass. Of course, now we have too much contrast. We're losing all detail in this area. It's not what we want, but that's what we're going to do now. So from the black and white, we can, for example, raise up reds. As you can see, as soon as I do it, I'm making this all parts lighter. Let's try and make also the blues lighter. Okay, you can see how if I make them darker, I create more of an intensity in the sky, and that's the beauty of it. But again, you can play with this to see where you like it the most. Possibly something like this in the sky, I like it. And then let's take care of this messy contrast here. And there are a couple of ways we can do it. First of all, we can raise our lift just a bit to get back some of the detail. Okay, something like this looks nice actually. We're probably blurring out a bit too much the highlights, so what I want to do now is go under my highlight and roll it back just a tiny bit. And don't worry about the mountains back looking a bit blown out. A characteristic of the Bleach-Bypass was to have blown out highlights. So if you're losing a bit of detail, this is becoming a bit crashed. Until you still have details, of course, you're doing it right. So let's do the before and after then. You can see how it looks quite interesting now. We could do possibly a couple other things. For example, we can control saturation from this node. For example, we can either add saturation, of course, or take it out. Or a nice thing to do, at least to me, is to play with the color boost. Go down a bit with the color boost. And then add back saturation, either with this light here. Okay. Or if you want to play more with the single colors, go into the hue versus started. For example, we want to make this subject pop, then we can select red and add saturation just into the red. And this is something similar to what they've done in 300, where all the colors were really crashed except for the red. So possibly I would go back with this too. something like this, and just take out the red, something like this. Okay, so before and after, before and after, and this is our first version. So Control or Command Y to create another version. And let's go jump into the second method. So the second method is basically an evolution of this one. What we have to do is, first of all, to change this of the composite mode to color. Okay, and of course we will reset what we have done in this here. Okay, I will leave, of course, the monochrome going on. And after this, and you see basically with this combination here, we're just taking care of the saturation. So if we go before and after, okay, we're creating a sort of a bleach bypass, of course, but the majority of the work is done in the saturation here. And then what we can do is to Alt or Option S, create another layer here and another layer. Perfect. And then disconnect this one and connect these two. And then from this layer mixer, we can choose complete mode as overlay. All right. So of course, now we have to take care of the contrast like we've done before. So if we go, for example, and erase our left, and then go back to the highlights. And now basically what we can do is to control all that's going on as far as saturation goes, again with this node here. So we can possibly go and desaturate it a bit. Okay, something like this looks nice. Of course, we can play a bit more with the contrast also in this portion here. So if we want to raise a bit more the dark areas, and then control the highlights. Do it from here. Okay, and again we can play, for example, with color boost, etc., to add a bit more to the image. So that's the second method. It's definitely more interesting than the first one as far as the result goes and as the controllability of the result goes, but to me neither of those are the best one in terms of simplicity and results. So let's create a new version, Control or Command Y, and then we can delete all of this and just create one single node, Alt or Option S. So this third method, which is the one I prefer personally, is done in just one node, and I love it for, again, it's the simplest one to achieve, and it still gives you the most controls over the result. So let's call this one Bleach. Alrighty. What we want to do next is to go on the primary bars. So let's crank the highlights down quite a bit. Possibly something like this. And now what we want to do is to raise them back just using this Y option. This will basically gain back the luminosity without altering the saturation. So let's see what happens. And I will just basically reset this to 1 to make sure we get back to the level we were at the beginning. Okay, you see how we have lost saturation without losing contrast. So if we go before and after, the other thing we can do, for example, is to desaturate from the left. So again, we can basically raise the left and then go back with the Y. And then we're getting even more into the silverish world. So Control D, you see how we're also getting details, as this was a bit too saturated. Now we're getting back all the details. And so what we're left with is a very interesting image as far as saturation goes, but we're still lacking the contrast of the Bleach-Bypass. And this is the easiest part, for we just have to play with the contrast and pivot to get it and get to it. So let's crank the contrast quite a bit, and then play with the pivot to just get back all the details that we need. Okay, something like this looks nice. And again, we can control, for example, the sky. So let's see, I want to make this sky a bit more interesting. I can select the teals and I can lower the luma a bit more to make it more interesting. Same thing with the blues. Okay, see how interesting the sky is becoming. So let's compare the three versions now. As you can see, I've played a bit more with the options to at least make all the levels match together. And I've added both film grain 8mm 203 to make it more into that Bleach-Bypass world, and I've added a new version with just Rec 79 for comparison. If we have a look at the three versions, what we can see is that the first and the last one are definitely the most true to the original Bleach-Bypass effect. The second one, the one with two layer mixes, is more of a modern look. It has more of a modern look to it, definitely a softer type of Bleach-Bypass, which still you can obtain with the first two methods. So my advice here is the second method is a bit overcomplicating everything, stressing more your CPU. For remember, now we have just one clip. Maybe in a project you might have 20, 50, 100 clips, and having 4 nodes instead of 1 is basically quadrupling the stress on your PC when rendering everything and when having to play back your movie. So if we compare the first version, the third version, as you can see, this one still retains a bit more saturation. The last one instead is more of a true Bleach-Bypass. This one is, for example, more similar to what was going on in Save Private Ryan. Both of them look quite nice. We're not losing detail in any portion of the image, and that's very important. As you can see here, for example, we have much richer colors going on in the reds and in the blues without having the saturation though too high, and then something I like of this method. But other than that, I really like both of them. They're really easy to achieve, and it's really up to your taste which one you prefer.
Well, thank you so much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed this tutorial, check out my Instagram. There are more there and much more coming. Also, I showcase grades there and how they're done. So if you're looking for a particular mood or look recreation, check it out. You might be able to find the one you're looking for. As always, I am the Mad Hatter. Thank you for watching. Be safe, be mad.
Mammamia!